I grew up in Sherwood Forest. Well, not actually in the forest, but near the forest. And if you're thinking Robin Hood, you would not be wrong. In fact, 800 years prior to me, Robin Hood and the merry men had indeed bounded through the undergrowth of the said same forest. But come the end of the 20th century, don't think Robin Hood and the merry men and deer bounding through the forest, think coal mines. Yes, coal had been discovered under the said forest, and in these little villages all around Nottinghamshire in the early part of the 20th century, they established coal mining villages. It was dirty, it was sooty, it was working class, it was hard grind. Never mind Robin Hood, think Billy Elliot. When I watch that movie, that's exactly what I think about my childhood. Now, my parents had gone to the village of New Ollerton, which was a mining village. My father was a Methodist minister. My mother was a religious education teacher and taught in the high school. All my friends, their fathers went down the mines if they were male, and they went into the hosiery mills if they were female, and that was basically it. New Ollerton was coal mining and hosiery. Now, sometime around the time I was 13, my parents decided it was time for us to go on a family holiday to Israel. They had long wanted to see the Holy Land and waited until my brother and I were of the age where we could really appreciate it. And so I was just approaching my 14th birthday and my brother was 11 years old. We'd not met many Jewish people, I can assure you, because Ollerton was hardly a thriving center of Jewish culture. In fact, I don't think I'd met anybody Jewish at that point. There was a Jamaican family in Ollerton, there was certainly a Chinese family, there was certainly a Gypsy Roma family that lived there. I knew members of all of those families through school. That was about it as far as minorities went in New Ollerton. So we arrive at the El Al desk at Gatwick Airport, and yes, the first people I met who were Jewish were El Al employees. Anyway, we get on the plane, fly to Israel, wonderful trip, and we arrive at the airport and we make our way up to Jerusalem. You know, that journey is just amazing as you ascend to Jerusalem. And I remember being very struck by the fact that some guy called Shimon Peres was running to be prime minister, because on every single lamppost all the way to Jerusalem, Shimon Peres, Shimon Peres, Shimon. Literally the first Israeli name that went into my mind as a 13-year-old. Who is this guy, Shimon Peres? We went to the Avis rent-a-car. My mom got out the map, unfolds it on the hood of the car, takes out her Bible and starts to plot the Bible onto the Avis rent-a-car map. Okay, boys, off we go. And she literally was working her own tour of the Holy Land based on her Bible. Okay, we're going to 1 Kings chapter 2 to the Jezreel Valley. Off you would go, and she'd get out a Bible and she'd read some story, she'd fold it up, we'd get back in the car to the next thing. Okay, we're going to the Jordan River. Blah, blah, blah. New Testament, Old Testament, every Testament, any story she could find, she was going to tell it at every location that we stopped. Actually, looking back on it, it was a fabulous way to learn. I can remember all those locations right now. Second week, we were in Jerusalem, so we'd taken the rent-a-car back and we were using buses. Still got the rent-a-car map, still got the Bible, but we were now walking and bussing around Jerusalem. And I know it was a Friday afternoon that we went to the Western Wall, because my parents said, we're going to take the bus down to the Western Wall. We're going to have to walk back because the buses stop around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So it must have been a Friday afternoon. And there we were at the Western Wall. I can see the Dome of the Rock above it. I can see the Al-Aqsa Mosque over here and the stones. And people, just tiny, tiny people walking back and forth in front of these great stones. And I was sitting at the back of the plaza listening to, I can even hear the feet now, the patter of the feet as people walked across in silence. I went up to the stones. I saw the little prayers, the little kvetlach as they're known, tucked into the walls, and just saw how huge these stones were, and looked up and overawed by it, knowing that it had been there thousands of years. Back at the back of the plaza, as I'm looking at this scene, something dawns on me. Mum had just read the story of Jesus and how he went to the temple as a 13-year-old. He was 13 at the time, presumably around the time of his bar mitzvah, maybe even for his bar mitzvah. Thinking to myself, wow, we come here to learn about our tradition and where it comes from the Holy Land. When we see a part of that, which is Jewish people praying Jewish prayers at a side of the Jewish religion that's been here for thousands of years, including the time when the founder of Christianity came to this very place, and I don't understand what's happening here, and why not? Shouldn't I know what these prayers are? Because presumably Jesus of Nazareth would have prayed these prayers. It wasn't much more than that. But it was definitely a moment, it was definitely a milestone in my life that I can look back on now and say, in the fact that life is a journey, that was a milestone. Probably one of the most significant first milestones that I can remember. So we walked back to our accommodation and we finished our tour and we got back on the plane and we flew back to England. And all I could think about was, so what is it about those stones and those people praying there, and how can I learn more about that?